Okay. Lovely jubbly. We're live. We're live. I love it. I love being live. What's up to everyone? We are streaming live on TikTok and YouTube at the same damn time. Doing live debates as per usual. I wonder if we can get some comments in the chat just to just people let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're active. We'll be streaming for a decent amount of time today. I'm taking debaters. I've actually challenged a lot of different people to debates, and it seems no one wants to debate me like man to man, like face on the screen, put it on YouTube type shit. And that's what I'm really looking for, because I'm building up the YouTube channel. So we're streaming live on YouTube right now. The channel is called State of Deception. So these are the State of Deception live debates. So if you really want to talk to me, now's your chance. If you want to have a debate, now's your chance. We're talking USA vs UK. We got a requester, but we're going to try to keep it on topic for the most part. And if you are a disagreeer, feel free to come up. What's up, Gogs?
Hi, how you doing, my friend? How are you?
I'm good, man.
Good. I'm glad to hear you are. I saw your last post about you were speaking about other things in the NHS, and I heard you speaking about the USA versus the UK. You know, the NHS versus, I think it's Medicare and Medicaid that have in the American system, if I'm right. Medicare and Medicaid. One is the one for poor people. I can't remember. Is it Medicaid is the poor one?
Yeah.
And Medicare is the rich one.
Medicare is for the elderly. Yeah.
No, I knew there was ones for poor people and one's for people that doesn't have insurance, and one's for people that do have insurance. Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah, both of those are government subsidized healthcare options, and then there's private insurance plans as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought Medicare and Medicaid, wasn't it that Medicare and Medicaid? You're saying both are subsidized. I get that both are subsidized to an extent, but one of them is for people that don't have, because there's something like 20 million Americans that don't have any medical insurance. Am I right? About 20 million that don't have a medical insurance?
Probably something like that, yeah.
You know, there's 20 million don't have medical insurance. They'll rely on, did you say it's Medicaid? It's the poor one?
No, so those are the people
Medicare.
Medicare and Medicaid are essentially forms of government insurance. That number, that 20 million, would be people that have no Medicaid, no Medicare, and no private insurance plans.
No, wow. I thought the Medicare or Medicaid was one of the ones. One was for people that they couldn't afford insurance, and this is what we got taught when I was a politics student, and we got taught about the NHS and how it works.
No, so
20 odd years ago.
there's probably close to 100 million people on Medicare and Medicaid.
Is there as much as that? Well, it doesn't surprise me these days that it'll be as much as that now. Yeah. But I find it quite interesting that a lot of people were saying in the comment section of one of your charts, people were saying, well, I'd rather have the UK system because when I phone an ambulance, I don't get billed a huge amount of money. Or when I go to the hospital to have, a scan or something, I don't have to pay like $1,000 or $2,000 or so on. But I agree with what you've said. And the reason I agree with what you've said about the American system being better is because there's just so much corruption in the NHS in the UK that there's so much corruption in it. And as I said in the points, I said to one of the people in the comment section, but the NHS isn't free. People keep saying the NHS is free. It is not free. We pay for it. We pay in for that system. But the thing that makes it wrong for me is probably the same problem you've had with it, is the corruption.
Yeah.
Because when you've got people who've got power to change records, make up notes, make up basically a pile of shit about a patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, and cover their own arses. And when they've got a regulatory body like the General Medical Council that are hand in glove with the medics, and make no mistake, they are hand in glove with them. They do everything they can to get a medic out of trouble when they're put up before them. Any medic that's put up before the GMC, they do everything they can to get them out of it. And
the thing is, we can't act like there isn't corruption in healthcare in the US system. That's not what I'm saying. But the reality is that they are easier to hold accountable using the legal system, because there's a concept in the law, there's a concept in UK in the UK legal system called the floodgates of litigation. And so they recognize that if everybody sues the NHS, they can actually sue it so much that it would no longer exist. So they try to protect the NHS using the court, and because they try to protect the NHS using the court, they make judgments that are favourable to the system, which makes it more difficult for patients to get accountability, and they also don't pay out as much when you sue.
Yeah, you're talking about here in the UK they do this to make it work.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you said that, because I was speaking to my grandfather today, and I was telling him about you, and I was telling him about the problems I've had with medics here in the UK, about their corruption. I've seen all the corruption with them. And my grandfather was saying to me, the reason they probably changed notes, my grandfather's a farmer, he owns a farm in Scotland, I live in Scotland. He said that the reason they're probably changing them is because they're that scared that they'll get sued. And I said, well, that's probably part of the reason why they change records and change. But I said, but you're talking about when someone's actually passed over, then they're covering their arses when they've done something negligent, rather than admit the mistake, which is what they do in America. They say, okay, we made a mistake, and they learn from it.
Well, no, I'm sure they cover up in America as well.
Well, they do, but they don't do it as much here. But in America, they have a system where they think, right, okay, because they've got insurance, it covers the litigation anyway. Because in America, as you know, you can sue anyone for farting the wrong way. So they've got everything. They've got what they do is they have a system. They say, right, let's look at the error we made. Say they were doing a surgical procedure, and the surgeon's doing surgery. If they made an error and a patient had catastrophic bleeding, for example, because a surgeon didn't put a clamp on a certain way when another surgeon stopped doing what he was doing, right? Because they work in teams. If something like that happened and the person had catastrophic bleeding and they bled out, at the end of the surgery they'll say, right, where did we go wrong? And they'll look at where they went wrong and they'll say, right, that's where we went wrong. And that's how they learn from mistakes. This is a crucial difference in America that you don't have here in the UK. I told my GP about this in a friendly consultation once. In America, when they make mistakes, and I'm not saying they're perfect, because of course they're not, and I'm not saying they don't cover things, because of course they do.
Yeah.
But largely speaking, when they make mistakes in America, like surgical procedures, mistakes and errors of that sort, they look at it and they say, right, they say, right, we've made a mistake, and they try and find out where they've gone wrong, and then they learn from it. But here in the UK, they're not afraid of being sued, right? Instead of learning from the error they made, what they do instead is they cover it up. And they'll make up notes, they'll make up lies, and they'll cover it up.
Did you know? Right, I know.
They don't learn from it.
I know someone called Will Powell. His son's name is Robbie Powell. I'm going to read this. I do know about the case, so I'm just going to read it for clarity. So the Robbie Powell case is a landmark NHS case concerning the death of a 10-year-old boy from Addison's disease, which prompted the campaign for a statutory duty of candour. It highlighted how a failure to promptly diagnose and inform the family of mistakes, followed by a subsequent cover-up, left the family of answers. Now, when I spoke to Robbie Powell's father, he told me that what he felt like he was dealing with when trying to get accountability for his son is a criminal mafia in the NHS. The same thing. And I said the same thing to him. We had a lengthy conversation while I was in the USA about it. And I asked him, I said, do you think that in a country like the USA, there's more accountability? And he said no, he said that he thinks that a lot of doctors think that they're like gods and they have the power of life and death in their hand. But the thing is, with this case, the thing that was interesting is that he took his case all the way to, I think it was the Supreme Court. I think he went all the way to the Supreme Court. And it was established in the Supreme Court that there's no duty of candour for healthcare professionals. So at that time in 1990, there was actually no duty for medical professionals to tell the truth, which sounds crazy, but this is what actually came out in his case. So as a result of his case, this was in the UK. So there was no duty for them to tell the truth. So what happened was they established a duty of candour for the corporation, but there's still to this day no actual personal duty of candour against medical professionals. So you technically can't hold a duty of candour against an individual medical professional in the UK. You can hold the corporation accountable. You can try and get them for harassment or try and get them for negligence, but you can't simply say you had a duty to tell us the truth and you didn't. So that's something that I'm trying to address in my case against the NHS. But basically, the general gist of it all is the system in the UK is designed to protect the NHS.
Yeah, it's absolutely designed to protect them. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I can tell you about, which is quite astonishing, I'm going to say it anyway, there's people putting in the comments things like, how's your rapist president and all this rubbish. I mean,
please mind the language, because I don't want to get the live ban, but yeah, go on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say, for you conspiracy theorists, Leon and the others, grow up. Go and get yourself an education. You conspiracy theorists are all the same. You haven't got a clue about life or how things really work. You've got no absolute idea. Anyway, to get back to what I was saying, Harold Shipman, here's a case in point. He murdered over 250 people. Now, I knew about this man 6 months before he was caught because I worked in code encryption. And I knew about him 6 months before he was caught, right down to his high practice in Manchester. The police bungled up a number of investigations they could have had that could have stopped him long before it. And the GMC, when he was caught, initially, when he first started off, he was addicted to methadone drugs. When he was put up to the GMC for it, right, when he was a young doctor, he'd already been murdering people by this point, incidentally. He'd already been murdering people.
Can you say unaliving? Because I don't want to get the live ban. If you say certain things...
I forgot the TikTok there. I meant unaliving. They'd already been unaliving people by that time. Right, when he went up to the GMC, the psychiatrist said, I note that none of the young GP's patients had suffered as a result of his addiction. And he said that for him to be struck off would have been devastating for him. And so he allowed him to continue practicing, which is just completely insane. I mean, can you think of anywhere in the workplace where someone's been convicted of taking, drugs or drug abuse, and allowed to continue where they're looking after people, and they've been doing something as serious as committing fraud and taking drugs by fraudulent means, and getting high as a kite. And they put him back to work. And then he continued unaliving people till he'd unalived over 250 people. We think about 280 people, nearly 300 people he'd unalived. And all that harm he'd caused to all that people. And our system is so stupid that he got away with this for decades before finally he was brought to justice.
I mean,
he was a very wicked and very evil.
There's so many layers. There's so many layers of defense that these people have to prevent them being held accountable. First, they've got the GMC. First they've got the hospital apparatus, which protects them, fabricates the notes for them. Then the senior management, they don't document the things that happen properly. They don't do the serious incident investigations. Then you've got the GMC and the NMC, which go to bat for them. Then you've got the medical British Medical Council and all these people that try to push for judgments that are in favour of the NHS. Then you've got their lawyers. So by the time you've exhausted all of your avenues to try and hold them accountable, Powell's is a piece of shit. They're not going to do anything. It's the same as the trust. Then you get to the legal thing. Then they've got the top lawyers in the country, Brown Jacobson, for example. They've got the top lawyers in the country, and then you actually have to go up against these experienced barristers as a patient, or and you're not Mr. Moneybags, most of us. So you're up against these senior barristers who help to create the litigation. Help to create the judgments, the case law in the country, and you are expected to be able to outsmart and outcompete them. Like, for example, I'm up against Brown Jacobson, the lawyers for Nottingham University Hospitals Trust, and they so basically there's the secondary victims judgment, which means it basically limits liability for certain harmed people in the NHS. And the people who I'm up against trying to get justice for my daughter, they were the ones that got that judgment passed in the Supreme Court. So I'm basically challenging this law firm on the fact that I'm a secondary victim, and they got the judgment passed in the Supreme Court. So who's got more leverage, right? So it's an entire system that's been created, and most people will never get into the murky waters of how it actually runs. And when you speak about it, they'll just say, "Well, who are you to speak on it? You're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer." But it's like, who else would be able to speak on it? That's the thing.
But you don't need to be a doctor or lawyer. Take me, I'm public policy educated. I worked in the banking system for years in technology, and I've taken them on. I saw the shipment thing through and saw them reformed, and now they're in jail at 1 a year in the UK. And what does that tell you about a socio-economic group of people? When 1 a year is sent to prison in a small island like the UK, 1 a year, that's an average figure now. Now, to get things in context, pre-shipment years, right? Not one GP had ever been sent to prison in the UK ever.
That's
not
crazy.
one. Not one had ever been sent to prison ever in the line of their work. Not one. After shipment, he got 15 life sentences. Now that figure is 1 per year who's gone to prison ever since about 5 years after the shipment.
And it actually became harder as well, because they had these interesting cases. I've looked up the case law on some of these where they had gross negligence manslaughter. So some medical professionals were sent to prison for gross negligence manslaughter as a result of some failures, right? But then their cases got overturned, and the argument that overturned their cases was they were saying because of the pressures on the ward and because of the systemic nature of the failures,
they got a suspended sentence. I hear
right, and they overturned that judgment. So then that's why they came up with the corporate manslaughter statute, and the corporate manslaughter statute basically makes it so that it's the corporation that's held accountable. So now, ever since those cases were overturned, it's actually harder again to convict a medical professional of gross negligence manslaughter, because they will always have the excuse that, well, if it wasn't for me working in the course of my employment, and if it wasn't for the corporation and its strain, then the mistakes wouldn't have been made.
No, there's one that I knew of. He was sent to prison, a surgeon, and he got 2 years, and that was because he failed to treat a patient. The judge said it was your patient, and he tried to say he was overworked, the computers weren't working right, the system failures, he was going on a bit. But the judge was having none of it and said it was your patient, it was your responsibility, you were in charge of him, you failed to do it. I know you said you worked a 12-hour shift, but it was your patient, X, Y, Z. And the judge also said some of your colleagues have, made statements about you and what happened. The judge said, but the thing I find difficult to understand is that what your colleagues have said is counter. It's counter to what you've been telling me. So in effect, what the judge was saying was what your colleagues were telling us was tying up in knots what he was trying to say. So the judge just wasn't buying it. In effect, the judge knew that the medics were lying to go and get their colleague out. But he got 2 years in jail. What did the medics do when he got 2 years in jail? They're out with banners.
Exactly.
We don't, we're not happy about this. We shouldn't be sent to prison. They're holding up banners like they're the innocent, like they're the victims. When a man lost his life and died,
they're a mafia.
A medic failed to bloody treat him properly.
They're a mafia. They're a public sector mafia.
I mean, that's the thing about them as well. They're so fucking incredibly arrogant that they think that take them going on strike again. They're sat at fucking home, these GPs, right? They're sat at home earning £90,000 a year, and they're on strike in England again, harming patients, saying they wanting more bloody money again. And these guys are
they just got 26. They just got 26%. They just got 26% pay rise as well.
Yeah, and they get whopping pay rises that no one gets. I mean, 26% of 80 grand a year or 60 grand a year if it's a junior doctor. That is a lot of money. 26 grand. Their increase is more than most people are breaking their backs for earning in the average work.
Well, they say that they're not getting pay rises in line with inflation, but who is? Who else is getting a pay rise in line with inflation?
That's because they're getting whopping pay inflation busting rises. That's why. Another thing as well is they come out with this propaganda. Doctors are earning £16.85 an hour. What complete shit! They don't earn £16.85 an hour. It's just propaganda.
They do things outside of their medical practice as well. That gives them more money.
They're starting off at something like £40,000 a year in the first year. Then it jumps up to 60 about a year after that. Yeah. And then after they've been doing it about 2-3 years, they can charge the arse out of it. And they're earning 80,000 plus, and they've got private work as well.
Yeah.
So, they're earning more than a fortune. I found it interesting. Can you tell me more about what you said? You said to me the last time we spoke, when we were speaking about their hours, that's something I wanted to speak about as well. And you said to me they make up their own hours. Now, I long suspected this. Is it true what you're saying when they make up their own hours? So they're making up their own shifts, their own rotas, their own diaries of how many hours work. One of the things I wanted to know, maybe you could help us in this. How do we know, right, because they're so corrupt, how do we know that these GPs that are working from home, right, how do we, the public, know that these civil servants, because that's what they are, servants, how do we know that these people are actually working the hours that they work? Because the normal people in work, as you know yourself, right? If you work in a factory or you work in a place, you go in, the old school way was you stamp a card, it showed you. The new way is you sign in a book. Or there's some mechanism that shows that you are in your work. And you can't just leave. Because if you leave, your boss will say, where are you going? You say, I'm going home, or I'm going. You say, but you can't do that.
Well, just to quickly cut you off, I can't necessarily speak on that because I don't know how their system works for managing hours. What I was probably saying before was about NHS consultants, because what I think I was saying that the NHS consultants have more leverage with regards to the hours that they can work, because they are basically the people that are most required. They're most needed on the ward. So it's more difficult to kind of either fire them or dictate to them the hours that they need to work, because it's like they have leverage, because once you're a consultant, you're in a position of, you have more pull than the other staff. So if they say like, these are the hours I want to work, it's unlikely that the management or the lower doctors or the nurses can tell them you're not to work these hours, you have to work these hours instead. But again, I can't speak deeply on how their hours work because I've never worked in that kind of field. Maybe someone will be able to come up and tell you.
Do you know what I find is good leverage for the medics? If I had fallen out because I had surgery in my back and they were messing me about no end. They were just refusing to give me painkillers, refusing to do my surgery. And then the surgeon that did my surgery had to leave the country because he was convicted of a serious offence of beating up his wife and his kids. And he got suspended for 12 months. And then after his suspension, he pissed off abroad because he couldn't get work here in the UK. This is the kind of criminals I was dealing with. And what I used to do to them to really annoy the medics was I would file them up in freedom information requests, and they hated it. They just hated it. They didn't want to answer anything about their pay, their hours, did they own the land, the unit, the trust, the GP surgery. They didn't want to answer any of it. And I found that filing them up in freedom information requests is great leverage. In fact, I just had a falling out with my GP again last week because the painkillers they were giving me weren't working. And so I gave her an ultimatum when she refused to give me diazepam for my back during the cold winter because that inflamed my condition and made it worse. So when I got her on the phone, I said to her, why did you not leave my prescription? She said, because I wasn't happy to. I said, what do you mean you wasn't happy to? I said, if you're not happy, I said, you're in the wrong job and you can go to F, I said to her. I said, because I don't want you. If you're not happy and it's affecting your decision, you can piss off. I said, you can go abroad like Mr. Craig who did my surgery, get to F. Yeah. I said, you heard me? I said, you don't F yourself while you're at it. I said,
Gogs, I'll have to arrange a time to speak to you because I'm starting to do the interviews and stuff. So I will get like your whole story from like start to finish when
okay, no problem. I was just going to say, if it's an avenue that maybe you should take as well. Hit them with freedom information requests. Hit the trust.
I've done the freedom of information data protection. They use some really like niche clause to say that they weren't going to respond to all of my requests that were damning to them. But don't worry, because when we go to court, I'm going to get them in pre-action disclosure, and I'll get a court order that makes them release all the information anyway. So I know my way roughly around what I'm doing.
Well, we'll speak again, okay? And I'll tell you more in depth about what I think, and you can tell me more what you think, yeah? Because I watch your posts and I keep listening. Just finally, before we go, just very quickly, I noticed that on one of my feeds as well, there's another chap whistleblower, and I don't know if you knew about it. But up in Scotland, we had an outbreak in the water supply in the hospitals, and people were unalived because of it. And because some people were unalived a bit, there's been a whistleblower.
Yeah, I know that guy, GGC whistleblower. Great guy's gone Clyde. Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you heard about it because they're saying there's going to be real change now because apparently the Scottish government were involved in the cover up as well. Yeah. I can't say if it's true or not. I don't know if it's conspiracy or if it's truth in it, or maybe or not. I just don't know.
I've spoken to the guy, Stephen. Yeah, I actually think that probably was a result of him speaking out. So that's why I did my recent post about trying to get the whistleblowers, because we need to galvanize a bit better, because a lot of people are scared, but I'm not scared. So hopefully people see what we're trying to do and they take inspiration that maybe we actually can force change by speaking out.
You stand up to the medics and stand up to them, you realize that these people are supposed to be in power and know more than you. They don't half the time, and they're just criminals, and they're just civil servants.
Yeah. All right.
We'll
speak
later,
again.
okay?
All right. Take care of yourself.
Bye just now.
All right. Bye.
You too. Bye.
For context, for the people that didn't understand, we were just talking about the UK healthcare system because Gogs knows a little bit more maybe than the average person about what's going on. Obviously, I know because it's my little thing that it's my obsession. Other than USA and doing my lives and my business and my kids, and you get the gist. So if anyone wants to come up and debate on the actual live topic, which is currently the USA is better than the UK, feel free. We do have some guest requesters already lined up. I don't know if they'll be able to connect yet because they've been waiting. So let's see. Hold on one second. Oh, we got someone on Onynix.
Hello.
How old are you?
18.
Are you a girl?
Yeah.
You don't sound 18 to me, my friend.
I am born 2007.
Why are you speaking like that?
I'm tired.
It sounds like you're trying to hide from your parents because you probably shouldn't be up on TikTok live. So correct me if I'm wrong with some evidence or something. But yeah, I'd rather not take the risk to debate a little kid. What's up? What's up, Danny?
Alright, listen, I'm not 18, but I'm really good at debating.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay, sorry. Why have we got so many little kids on the live? What the fuck? Guys, please don't request up if you're a little kid. Hello, what's up?
I'm doing no bad, over you.
I'm good.
Yes, I'm 21.
Great. What would you like to share with us?
Some question I want to ask about USA, if that's fine.
Sure.
So, see, like, what is it fucking... Like, you used to pay money to get an ambulance. Like, what you used to pay out with money to get an ambulance.
Well, that would depend on your insurance plan, right? But everything costs money, so it's either money billed to the state on your behalf that they use taxpayer money to pay for, or it's money billed directly to your insurance company, or it's money billed directly to you. There's always a cost, right? But it depends on, in somewhere like the USA, it will depend on your insurance plan. It will depend on the nature of the emergency. So it's a bit more nuanced than just you have to pay for an ambulance. Everything in the world costs money, right?
Ah, no, true.
Yeah.
But like, fuck, like, I do usually, why do you pay like so much money to like have a kid in general? Like, pay like a couple of grand for one.
Again, it would depend on what services you receive from the hospital, where you had your prenatal and postnatal care. I had a child. I've had 2 kids in the USA, and it didn't cost me a dime. So it depends on the person, depends on your income level, depends on what services you accessed. It's kind of a nuanced topic again there. But yeah, generally speaking, you will get billed if you have a private insurance plan. You get billed for having a child in the USA. But obviously, you don't have to pay the money up front. It's usually a rolling payment that you pay, just like how your taxes are a rolling payment that you pay, right?
Yeah, we pay taxes for like the hospital, and then like our ambulance come basically instantly. It depends on what injuries happened, whatever's happened. It depends for us.
Yeah. So did you have a point that you wanted to kind of raise to or counter?
There's a few, but it's like one's different. Like unless like a rave one,
One's a what? Sorry.
like a rave.
Rave.
Yeah, like why does like see like Americans go raves so like pure like with like bright colours, and it's just like so bright. And for us, you know, we all just wear black as our mainly dress code for guys.
Mate, I don't know what you're on about.
So
I know. Well, I kind of know what you're on about, but I don't see how it's relevant.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to ask that one. It's like, why does Americans dress like so bright, like dress in like multicolours and that stuff, and we just wear black in general?
I honestly don't know. Are you saying that Americans dress more conspicuous than UK citizens? But perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, because they usually wear like pure bright colours, and there's like, I remember there's a video like a guy said to an American person, "Oh, like try some ketamine inside you."
Okay.
They won't have proper experience like what we do in here, because we have like multiple different genres, but different ones in here.
Okay, I think I don't really understand what point you're trying to make, so I'm just going to move on. Thank you though for coming up onto the live, because I think you said something about K as well, which that's probably not appropriate for the live because I don't want to get banned. And if you know what K is, you know what K is. But anyway, let's get to some of the comments. Someone says too many immigrants in the UK, so yes, US is better. The US has a lot of immigrants as well. I don't know if you're not aware of that, but both the UK and the USA have a lot of immigrants. The USA is better than the UK at what exactly? It's better at providing its citizens economic and social freedom. That's the main thing, really, isn't it? 250 years old vs 1,100 years old. Yes, true. The US is British in drag. The USA is better at not caring about their population, having a terrible education system. So do you expect that the government should be taking care of the population, or do you expect that the population should be empowered to take care of themselves? First, we'd have to understand what your expectations of the state are, because this is another thing with why some people prefer more socialist systems and some people don't, is that some people think that the state's job is to take care of them. Not disparaging them, but that is a thing. And then you have other people who feel that individuals should be empowered to take care of themselves and we should have a small state. Yeah, that's pretty much the primary dichotomy. D says the UK could peak America if we didn't have the political system we do. True, the UK could be much better if it had a more modern political system. Our political system, in my opinion, is somewhat archaic. That's just my opinion, though. I could debate anyone on that if you want to get more into detail on it. But I'm just getting to the other comments. Tori says, how is American better at providing anything for its citizens than the UK? I don't think you understood what I said there, my friend. So I don't want to start going off on you because I don't think you actually understood what I said, which is obviously an issue. Okay. Filibuster says, typical Americans being Americans. I'm not an American. Scotland invented the US Navy. Okay. Bro, there's bare 6 spots in the UK. I agree. Chloe says, I'm a whistleblower. What's up, Chloe? Please message me if you're a whistleblower. Let's get that convo going. I'd love to hear your story. Yeah, guys, the reason why there's a lot of people coming on talking about NHS and whistleblowing is because I just did a post, basically a call for public sector whistleblowers so that I can interview them and get their stories, potentially get witness statements for court. Sean says, bring me up, I'll be happy to debate you. Great, I love a good faith debate. Indian Jesus Christ says, American food is fake. Corn says, America is full of obesicles. Craig says, every country is as terrible and corrupt as each other apart from Japan. Didn't Japan just pass a law that means that you can have split custody in divorce? That seems very backwards to me. Kaivor says, I mean, at least we got free healthcare. We don't have free healthcare. Cersei says, Nordveg is better than both. Tori says, you are literally just trying to act smart. Haha. Tell me, don't want to get into it with you. Okay, Tori. Tori, why don't you come up and debate and we'll see who's smart? That'd be good, wouldn't it? I know you won't, because that's what you guys always do. But if you want to come up and debate me, that'd be great. But right now, let's speak to Sean and see what Sean wants to say.
How's it going, bro? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Well, I have a question for you. Why do you think US is better than UK?
I think it provides more freedom for its citizens, more economic freedom, and it's a better country to live in. And I think most UK citizens would do better in life if they immigrated to the United States.
Okay, let's break those things down that you said. Let's start with economic.
Sure.
In the US, 80% of the people have a debt, and the debt, the household debt of the US, it's worth 18 point something trillion, which is actually probably 3 trillion above the GDP. Compared to the UK, it's actually very, very high. So what do you have to say about that?
What I would have to say is debt is a measure of how much you're in the red. So in order to compare debt, you'd need to know how much you're in the red compared to how much you're in the black. So debt is just the measure of how much you're in the red, right? So if we're comparing two countries, we would need to know what are the assets that the citizens have, what are their wages, in order to compare. And if you actually look at the comparison, you'll find that UK citizens are more over leveraged. They're more in debt compared to the amount of money and assets that they have than US citizens are. The overall debt, household debt, is higher for US citizens, but it's not higher in comparison to the income and assets that they have. So UK citizens are less able to pay off debt than American citizens are.
I disagree on that last statement, because like the average debt, individual debt in the US, it's around $100,000, sorry, and in the UK it's roughly around £60,000. The UK minimum wage, it's way higher to the United States. United States has over 10 million people that work 2 jobs in order to be able to afford living. I'm not even going to mention the other ones.
So you just jumped between two topics. So you talked about debt and then minimum wage. So let's see if we can get some numbers on what you're talking about. So your argument is that UK citizens are more able to pay off debt, more capable of paying off debt than US citizens. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, because the wages are way higher compared to the US.
Okay,
US
so I've got the numbers here.
Scenario.
I got the numbers here for
Absolutely.
you. So the household debt for the average UK household is overall is 2 to 2.2 trillion, which is about 130 to 140% of disposable income, and in the USA it's 17 to 18 trillion, which is about 95 to 105% of disposable income. So can you see that the UK citizens are less capable of paying off their debt? So even though the US debt overall is higher, the UK citizens are less capable of paying off the debt because they have less disposable income.
Not necessarily, because that's so what we do in there, right? What you're doing there on ChatGPT is breaking down, like, by the amount of the people that country has, because US has over 350 million people, so definitely will make it look like they will be able to pay the debts more compared to the UK. But when we look at the wages, the UK wages are way higher on average compared to the US.
No, they're
the
not.
US wages are only higher in specific scenarios.
No,
in specific
you're wrong.
fields.
Everything you just said was wrong. So first of all, the
Okay,
numbers
let's break
the
that
numbers are percentages, so it's already accounting for the average one. And two, the average UK salary is about 35 to 36,000 pounds. The average US salary is about $65,000, which is approximately 48,000 pounds or something. So Americans on average are earning like 15 to 20,000 pounds more than UK citizens, and then they're paying roughly $8,800 a year for medical insurance on average, including tax contribution towards healthcare. So really, that's actually an overestimation because we haven't accounted for the taxes that the UK citizens pay to healthcare. But let's just assume that it's $8,800 on average. That still gives approximately a $10,000 difference. So US citizens are earning a lot more than UK citizens are.
Sorry, I think we get. You see, this is the thing. We get this. People usually get this wrong. When we look at average, salary in the US, you're not looking at the amount of the hours they are working. The average salary, if you Google it, you'll say it's around $50,000.
Let's look it up.
And if exactly, yeah, it will say around $50,000, right? That's the average salary. But if you look at the amount of the hours they work on average, they do work way more hours compared to the UK. So you can Google that as well.
Okay.
So
but that's not. Hold on. So we've got UK median salary 39,000 a year. This is from 2025.
Translate it to dollar, so it's easier.
Yeah.
Just say it on dollar. How much is it in the UK in dollar?
Yeah, sure. So $51,000, which is the average UK salary, and the US median
it's similar
salary.
with the US.
Let's get the US salary as of 2025. Yeah, so as of early 2026, it's the median salary for full-time year-round workers is between $63,360 to $63,688. This is the 2025 data. Yeah, so $63,000 for a US citizen versus what was the UK one? It was like 40-something thousand, right? No, it was like 50,000, right? Sorry, let me do it again. 39,000.
It's 50,000. Yeah, the US is 50,000.
Yeah, 51,000. So obviously you can see that there's a difference there of about what, $15,000.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting that?
No. Sorry. No. In the US, the minimum wage, if you Google it, you will say the average is around $50,000. In the UK, it's around 30-something thousand pound. If you translate it, it's literally almost the same amount.
It's not. I just gave you the numbers.
The US is slightly higher.
It's $15,000 higher.
No, sorry. What did you see in that? The average salary in the US is 50,000, right?
No, it's 63,000. It's actually higher than that. It's actually like 65,000.
I can show you.
And anyway, that's remember.
I have an iPad open if you want.
Remember.
I can show you.
Hold on. There's another thing that we're not taking into account. So that's for the earnings of a full-time worker. There's also dividends from people being invested in the stock market. American citizens are 2 times more likely to be invested in the stock market, and then there's also the fact that the effective tax rate is higher in the UK. So Americans have higher disposable income. You can look at the numbers that you really want is the discretionary income numbers, which is the amount of money that people have after paying their expenditures. And again, US citizens have much higher discretionary income. In fact, I think they have the highest in the world.
No, necessarily. That's not what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say is,
let's get those numbers then.
What I was trying to say is, in the US, it might look like they make more money, which they might make at the end of the day, but they work more for it. Like they do more hours. On average, 25% of the US citizens do more than 40 hours a week. And they have like probably only 1 week holiday or something. So, which in the UK it's way different. You probably have over 23 days on average.
So just to get
of holiday,
just to get the numbers. So we got some numbers from this is 2023 disposable income by country. The US has the highest disposable income in the entire world. and it's double what the UK an average. So gross disposable income per capita, $62,000 USA. I think that might be taking everyone's and then averaging it. So I think that's the mean disposable income, because obviously the mean income is much higher in the USA. So the other numbers we were using were median numbers, and then in the UK it's $36,000. So it's much. I don't think anyone would argue with the fact that US salaries are high. So I don't really understand why you're trying to make that argument.
Because those numbers you are seeing, they are inflated. Dude, like on the major cities in the US, you're definitely gonna make way more money. Especially in some fields, they were gonna make way more money, and that will inflate that number. It makes it look like, but overall, in general, let's say we compare, a countryside, for example. The US is very, very poor in so many cities, in so many countrysides. Compared to the UK, the minimum wage, the standard of living, it's way higher.
It's not. It's the richest country in the world, and the only place in the UK that you can make comparable money to the USA is London. So if you want to compare the countryside salary in the UK to the USA, it's not even close. An average mid-sized city in the USA, the salary will be similar to what it is in London.
Okay, I think we're not going to get agreement there. I think we're not understanding each other. So let's talk about. You said the U.S. is better, right? When I'm thinking about a better country, there's some things we need to take into account. Let's talk about health.
Okay.
In the UK, health services are free, as far as I know.
They're not.
You have to pay probably GP for like 30 pounds or something, 40 pounds depending.
You pay for your taxes, so it's not free.
Exactly, But in the US, you do pay taxes and you still have to pay for the doctor.
Yeah, but you only pay like 3% taxes, whereas in the UK you pay 20% to the NHS.
Sorry, are you telling me on the total income of 50,000, you're only paying 3% of the tax?
In terms of the taxes that go towards healthcare, yeah.
No, not the healthcare that you're paying in total in tax.
The overall effective tax rate is only slightly higher in the UK than it is in the USA. So, but the percentage of taxes that goes towards healthcare is much lower.
So exactly. So you're saying the UK is better because the actual you paying tax, but it's going for a good thing. It's going for a healthcare.
No.
While in the US, you're still paying tax, but it's not going for the healthcare.
No, you're paying. No. You pay less taxes in the USA. I'm saying that in the UK, the tax contribution towards healthcare is much higher than it is in the USA. So it's not.
What's the percentage of income tax in the US?
It depends on the state that you live in. Some states have no income tax, but
What's the average?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you the exact average, but I know that it's slightly lower than the effective tax rate in the UK, by maybe like 3-4% lower. Still pretty high tax rates in the USA.
So they pay a higher tax and they don't have access to health services. Yeah, it depends.
No, they do have access to health
income.
services. They do have access to health services.
So here I'm looking at the numbers. Right? I'm looking at the figures. It depends on the income that you make. But you can pay up to 37% of income on taxes. So it starts from 10%. That's people that makes before 20K. And then you have 12, 22%, and then all the way up to 37%. So the UK is better in the sense that if I need an operation, let's say I need to do a surgery or something,
right,
which usually costs a lot of money if you have to go to private, it will cost you 20, 30K or more.
It depends on the surgery.
It will be free. It might take longer. It will be free because you're gonna come out of the tax.
It's not free.
But in the US, I understand what you're saying, but the US you're still paying tax, but it's just not going to the right thing.
You pay less taxes. That's the point.
Slightly less, yes.
You can also get tax returns for when you don't use utilize certain healthcare services. So as I said, the overall thing that you're trying to get at is they're paying more for what they get. Okay, cool. But I've already explained that that's covered by the concept of discretionary income, which shows how much citizens have after they pay for the stuff that they need. So disposable or discretionary income tells you who has more money left over after they pay for the stuff that they need. So generally speaking, if you're bringing up an economic argument with regards to healthcare, with regards to how the citizens are living, they're doing better in the USA. I'm not saying that's the only thing that matters, as some people have falsely accused me of saying. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if that's what we're talking about, the metrics clearly favor the United States. And people will tell you that if they look up their own job in the USA, they could earn double, sometimes triple the salary. If you're talking about people at the lowest income levels, like people in the service industry, then then there's going to be comparable or potentially even lower incomes in some places. Like if you're working in, like Arkansas as a bar staff, you're probably going to be earning maybe less than the average service person working in the service industry in the UK. But that will be at the lower end of the scale. If you're talking about median, then the average US citizen is earning more than the average UK citizen, and if they have to pay for healthcare, that does affect their overall expenditure. But even when you factor that in, they still have more money, and they're still.
But they can't. At the end of the day, so let's put this right, because we need to get to the common ground. We need to get not the common ground, but we need to get to a consensus. So in the US, even though they pay taxes, they pay less, slightly less. At the end of the day, they have more money left. But when it comes to healthcare, they can't afford it.
Well, you can do the maths on how much money they have left over, and they still have more money left over after they pay for healthcare.
But because they cannot afford it. That's the problem. They can't afford the healthcare. Majority of the people in the US can't afford the healthcare.
That's not true. The majority of them can't afford it.
I'm going to give you numbers. Let me give you numbers, right? 1 in 3 Americans struggle to pay their bill. That
doesn't mean that they can't afford it.
If I'm struggling to pay the bill, how am I going to pay $20K for surgery?
Because it depends on the person's idea of what they mean by struggle. Like, for example, if I earn $100K a year and I have a penthouse suite and I have a nice car and I have, I go out, partying every weekend and I've got gold necklaces and gold chains, I may be spending a lot of money. So when my medical bill comes, I might be like, I'm struggling to pay it. But realistically, am I really struggling, or am I just saying I'm struggling because of how I spend my money? So that's kind of an arbitrary way of determining if people are struggling to pay their bills. The reality is that if you look, it makes more sense to look at the actual numbers of how much is their bill, are people paying those bills, how many people are able to pay those bills, and how much money they have left over when they pay their bills. When you do those numbers, you clearly see that Americans are able to afford their bills.
I think, bro. I think you coming from a place that you kind of talking about something you like to see or you want to be that way, but that's not actually how it is. 40% of the Americans find it very difficult to afford living expenses. They have over 45 million Americans have 1.7 trillion in student debt loan. So the American is sinking. Like it's really, really bad, and their GDP compared to the debt they have in general as well, it's very, very high.
Can you name a country?
How can you ignore all those things? Huh?
Can you name a country where people don't struggle to pay their bills?
Country where people don't. You mean no? Every country you're gonna find people that will struggle.
Right. So
but we're talking about the amount of the people that are struggling.
Do you think that in America people struggle to pay their bills more than in other countries?
In UK, absolutely, way more. I can give you an example. Do you want me to give an example, right?
Yes.
In the US, you have 10 million people. You can Google this. I'll wait. In the US, you have 10 million people that work 2 jobs in order to afford living. In the UK, you don't have that.
Out of how many?
Out of 350 million.
Right. So
you have
the total workforce is probably
2 jobs.
The total workforce is probably less than 350 million. It might be like 100.
Exactly. But I'm giving you, because you said the number, so I'm giving you out of the whole population. You have 10 million people doing 2 jobs in order to be able to afford living, and 40% of them literally reported that they can't afford the living expenses on the daily basis. They have to cut off some things in order to be able just to live normal. That's almost half of the population.
So what are the numbers like in the UK? Do you know?
Absolutely, we can look into it.
Yeah,
I'm going to Google here. How many people in the UK have 2 jobs?
No, not how many have 2 jobs.
And then we can compare the percentage.
Not how many have 2 jobs. How many people are struggling to pay their bills? It's kind of frowned upon to have 2 jobs in the UK.
So let's agree on this one. So you're saying UK is better because people don't have 2 jobs in that sense, right? Compared to the US, where people need to work 2 jobs.
They don't need to work 2 jobs. Some people may need to work 2 jobs, but that will be people at the lower end of the scale. But you're talking about cases that are on the lower end of the scale. You have to consider everybody, not just the people that are at the lower end of the scale. Let me just block this guy because I hate when people just talk shit and then act like we care if they leave. Just make sure they don't come back. Sorry, go on. Like you're telling us about the USA, but you're not telling us what the comparison is in the UK. So how we know that there are poor people in the USA. Like that's not.
Yeah. So in the UK, it's about 25% that reported. So in the US, it's 40%, and in the UK, it's 25% that reported they're struggling financially. So it's the US is 15% higher compared to the UK.
Of people saying that.
Now, bear in mind, the US is the richest country in the world, so.
Maybe they have a different concept of what it means to be struggling financially because they're comparing themselves to richer people. Have you considered that?
Here we go again, bro. You're going for something that you coming from a feeling point from what
no,
you
you're
want
giving
it to be,
you're
not
giving
from what it actually is.
No. I'm telling you what it is because you're giving.
I just give you numbers.
Hold on. You're giving arbitrary metrics. Like for example, if we did a poll, in Egypt, and 30% of people said that they were struggling. Would you then conclude that Egyptians are richer than Americans as well?
That's not how they do those census. So the way they do the way they do those census, that's not how those census work. They don't do a poll to get those census.
Okay.
The way those census do the way they works is they analyze, the wages. They analyze how much people are expending. So this is all numbers. This is not just asking people, how you doing.
Well, it is
They're
because you just
people.
the metric that you quoted was people who report that they are struggling. So that is exactly how they do it. It is literally a poll.
No. I said they reported that people are struggling. I might probably mispronounce it. I said they reported that 25% of people in the UK are struggling financially, while in the US 40% of people are struggling.
So you're saying that they did it not by asking the people, but by measuring their
numbers.
Okay.
It's all about numbers.
Wouldn't the measure of their numbers be their disposable income?
I suppose.
Yeah. So if the disposable income, which is the actual measure of how much money they have, is higher in the USA, why are you going off that metric that says that they reported that they are struggling instead of the actual numbers of what their disposable income is?
No, because like I was telling you, if you're looking at the disposable income, if you say US, let's say a city like New York, where you have people that are very, very rich, and you have a very high people that get a higher income, people will get paid millions. Those people gonna inflate that number, and you have a lot of that in the US.
You're suggesting that there's a skew, but there's also a skew in the UK because the majority of the wealth
absolutely.
The majority of the wealth in the UK is concentrated in London. The US has many major cities: New York, Chicago, San Diego, Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Boston. It has probably 50 to 60 major cities where you could argue that there's a skew effect with regards to income. I don't see how making an argument about skew means that the actual average is lower or higher. If we were making an argument with regards to the average, that first we would have to conclude that yes, the average is higher in the USA, but you don't seem willing to concede that the average is actually higher.
No, the average. So one second, let's not turn this around, right? The point is that you asked me, I look into this, you asked me to look into the UK as well, and I did. 40% of the people in the US struggle financially, and 25%. So UK is better on that sense.
No, I'm asking you how.
Me, I can give you the source, and
please
then
let's look at the source. Come, let's look.
Absolutely. You want me to? Actually, I can share it with you if you want.
Just say what you search to find it, and I'll find the source myself.
Absolutely. 1 second.
Because. Again, my argument is that it makes more sense to go off the actual discretionary income numbers than to say what is reported, because we don't know the mechanism that they use to determine what it means to be struggling, and we don't know whether it was self-reported or whether they analysed their income metrics.
So here, you can find it in www.jrf.org.uk.
Okay. Joseph Rowntree Foundation. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
reports over 7 million low income. Oh, this is UK families. Okay. So
for the UK.
For the
That
UK,
will
so
be the
over
US as
7
well, if you
million
want.
families are struggling to afford essentials. Okay. And does it say how they came to these numbers at all?
We can have a look there.
Focus on the financial situation. Looks at families' ability to meet their costs for essentials. Like the tracker aims to show how changing economic conditions. Okay, so their latest trackers. So we've got. I mean, this has a lot of different metrics. Households living below minimum income standard. But on what you're actually describing, I don't see anything that suggests how they came to the numbers.
No, there is. So I was asking, I was trying to get the quick answers. I was asking ChatGPT here
Yeah.
to get the quick answers, and he gave me that, and then I asked him for the source, and then he pointed me straight away to that website. We can look deeper into it if you want, but this is literally you can just Google this. You're gonna find it the same. Almost half of Americans struggle to pay the bills, while in the UK it's only 25%.
Yeah,
So
but
UK
again, the main crux of
actually
the
have a
argument
better
is
standard
we
of
need to
living
know
compared
what
to
it
the-
means. So yeah, I found it. So the data source for is actually surveys. So it's actually well-being surveys. So they are actually asking. It says the surveys ask things like: are you able to pay bills on time? Could you handle an unexpected expense? Are you behind on rent, utilities, or debt? How they define struggling: inability to meet basic costs, low financial resilience, so no savings buffer, debt stress, missing payments, high interest borrowing, etc. So it's actually a survey that they do where they ask the people. So it's not actually their raw financial data. It's actually self-reported,
all
basically.
right, but
As I said,
it's still valid, or you want to discard it and say, oh, because it's a survey, so that report is not valid.
I'm not discarding it. I'm saying it's relative.
Okay.
It's relative. So they may genuinely be struggling, but obviously they may have debt, and the debt might be for personal purchases like a nice car or a holiday, or they may genuinely just be complete living in poverty. But the problem is it's relative. So for example, you have people who are living in genuine poverty who may not have debt, right? But they're in poverty. They have a lower standard of living. They have less amenities. They have lower income. If you ask those people, they may say, hey, I'm doing fine. So I'm not disregarding what you're saying. I'm saying it's difficult to make a comparison on an arbitrary measure that's exacted within a population, because that population may consider that, hey, I'm poor, right? But they're poor compared to rich Americans. Are they poor compared to average UK citizens, or are they poor compared to poor UK citizens? It's difficult for them to know because they live in a different country. So they may think, hey, I'm poor. Like, for example, we may think I'm poor, but we're rich compared to everyone else in the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So another thing is the US has more homelessness compared to the UK.
It has more people a higher percentage of people that
Homeless.
are living on
Homeless,
the streets,
yeah.
but it has lower.
Exactly.
It has lower homelessness, but more people that are living on the
Living
actual
on the
streets.
street.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So which is not good as well. So UK win in that sense. Let's go for another one, which is food. The UK food is way better compared to the American food, which is literally poison.
I agree that the quality of food is better in the UK.
Absolutely. Let's go to another one. Education. The UK have one of the best universities in the world. Actually, it has the best university in the world. And on the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to lie. Let me have a look here. Let me just confirm before I say it. I'm pretty sure UK come up like 2 or 3 times, probably more than the US. Let me have a look.
If you look at the top 20 universities, most of them will be in the USA. But yeah, UK has
top
Oxford,
20,
Cambridge.
but top 10.
UK has Oxford, Cambridge,
Exactly.
Imperial College.
So
Yeah.
so education, UK is better than the US.
It depends. If you're talking about the percentage of people that get educated, then yes, it would be better in the UK. But if you're talking about the effectiveness of the education system and the ability for people to use their education to actually leverage an income, then it'd be better in the USA.
So let's talk about manufacturing. Let's go to cars. UK produced better cars compared to the US.
Well, I don't know how you would come to that conclusion. I don't know much
Well,
about
let's
cars.
look at the brands. What UK car brands compared to the US car brands? Which one would you say it's better?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know much about cars. What are the UK car brands like? Ford. What else?
That's the
Aston
US.
Martin.
Ford is a US
It's Ford
car
US.
brand.
US is like
Yeah.
Chevrolet. I don't know. I don't know much about cars.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know like where the US is better than the UK, because all those things UK are better than the US. Like UK have a health system that even if you don't have money, because you come out of the tax, you have access to for free. While in the US, if you run out of money, you cannot afford it. You're gonna be sinking in more debt, which 80% of the population is already in debt.
No, if you run out of money, then you'll become eligible for Medicaid, and then you'll get free healthcare in the US.
Not necessarily. There's no free healthcare. There's no such a thing of free healthcare in the US.
Well, that's how they deal with people that can't afford healthcare. They end up on Medicaid, which is government subsidized healthcare.
They end up on debt. They have to pay that.
If they're poor, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, but they have to pay it. It's not free.
No,
it goes like as a credit. They have to pay it eventually, and they have to pay it monthly.
They get free healthcare, like so-called free healthcare. If they are poor, if they have no ability to pay for their healthcare, they get government subsidized healthcare.
Wasn't that removed? Wasn't that cancelled recently by Donald Trump?
No, it wasn't.
I think it was brought by
it wasn't
Obama.
Removed.
I think
it wasn't removed, and it wasn't brought by Obama. Obama was Affordable Care Act, which is different, but it wasn't removed. They just changed the eligibility criteria, which would mean that people had to fulfill certain, kind of criteria before they would become eligible. But that didn't affect everyone. That it was projected to affect a certain number of people, but they still have Medicaid, and Medicaid has existed for a long time.
I don't know specifically about this. It's gonna take me 1 second just to have a look on it. Just want to confirm what you are saying.
Hey, Temi. So Sid says.
Yeah, so basically, this is basically no one in the US. He's saying in 2023 threshold about 20,000 euro individual and 40,000 for family of four. So to be able to be eligible for that, you have to make less than $20,000 a year.
It depends on the state that you live in.
And 40,000 for a family of four people. So it means 10K a year.
No, that's not.
That's one in the US.
No, that's not what that means. It means that if you have a parent that makes less than that, your family will become eligible for Medicaid.
Yes.
So as I said, you said if you're poor, so you said if you're poor and you run out of money, then you end up having to pay. But that's not true. If you're poor, then you'd end up 9 times out of 10 you'd be eligible for Medicaid. Yeah. So you spoke about a lot of.
I think in the UK it's more straightforward. And what's the process? What's the due process on this? And how long does it take compared to UK? You just walking into a hospital and then you've been seen straight away. You know. What's the process here? Do you know what I mean? You have
is that what happens? Is that what happens? You walk into a hospital in the UK and you get seen straight away, or do you have to wait quite a long time?
Well, if you go to an emergency, you definitely will be seen straight away, depending on your situation.
Yeah.
If it's serious, definitely straight away they will see you.
Well, that's the same in America.
Serious, of course, you have to wait.
Well, that's the same in America.
So and then they go through this process, and then they see if you are eligible or not.
No, they treat you first.
They treat you first,
yeah,
and then they look into that.
Yes.
And then if you are not eligible because you make, let's say, $100 more, then you have to pay for that as a debt.
It depends. It depends on what treatment you got, whether you were in network or out of network, what your insurance provider offers.
So it's a trap then.
It's not a trap.
It's kind of trap for the.
It's
It's
just
kind of trap for a civilian person.
How's it?
Because
How's it a trap?
imagine if you're not aware of this, and then you go to the hospital, and then you got treated,
Why
and then you
would, why
find
would
out that
you?
you need to
Why
pay
would you not be aware of it?
20 or
It's your-
30K on that.
Why would you not be aware of it if it's your own insurance plan?
Well, a lot of people. That's another thing as well. Insurance. The majority of the people in the U.S. need to pay for the insurance in order to be able to have access, to a good health services. Compared to the UK, you don't need to pay for that.
Well,
you still have
everybody-
a really good,
everybody pays for
health
it.
services.
Everybody pays for it through mandatory taxation.
Yeah. So what's on your opinion? What's the US better than the UK then? On what actually? Because so far I don't see anything that US is better than the UK.
Yeah, I can tell you. So it's a better land mass. So it has better. It has more land, more opportunities, a diverse range of different states that offer all kinds of different features in terms of different climates, landscapes, etc. They have better laws. So they have the First Amendment, which guarantees free speech, the Second Amendment, which guarantees people's right to bear arms. There's more economic prosperity. So they have multiple major cities that you can move in between, which gives you the opportunity to basically be prosperous in multivaried regions. They have a legal system that is much more accessible for the average citizen. You get more basically payouts when you sue. It's easier to access lawyers. They have better technology, better medical technology. So this medical system is of far superior quality with lower waiting times. You don't have to be as educated to earn a high income, and with that income, you have more investment opportunities, more ability to access capital, more people are invested in the stock market. It's easier to pass on wealth to the next generation. The houses are 3 times bigger on average. The average UK house is about 800 to 900 square feet. The average US house is like 1,700 something square feet. So much bigger houses, which obviously is much better, because the most people's number one expense and number one debt is going to be their house and the place that they live. It's a much bigger place with more things to do. A lot of fresh water, ability to hunt and live off the land. The land is cheaper. It's got among the cheapest land in the Western world. The economy is on an upturn, as in, if you look over the past 40 years, the US economy has been improving. The UK economy has been stagnant. Those would be, I'd say, the main things.
So, okay, I get what you just said there, but majority of them are debatable, and they are actually they are questionable as well. If that's how you define a country as great. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people, you mentioned like a pew laws, like Second Amendment, I think it is.
Yeah.
In order you can carry. A lot of people might not see that as good, because I don't want to be driving on the road and has an argument with the person, and then he can just pew me because on a road rage or something. So a lot of people might not see that as a good thing. And the other thing is, you mentioned the legal system. I just checked the legal system here. Actually, asked ChatGPT, and they just brought me all the information.
Yeah.
He says the UK legal system, it's more streamlined and more efficient, with
That's
a strong
false.
human rights protection, but more parliamentary power. So literally, ChatGPT is telling me that the UK legal system is better than the US.
It's not better. That's completely false. The Constitution.
So ChatGPT that run 50 to 60,000 documents in second. He's lying. That's what you're telling me.
You keep on giving arbitrary measures that don't have any.
But that's what we're looking.
Please allow me to finish.
Sorry.
They don't have any fundamental meaning. The United States Constitution provides its citizens more rights than the UK's body of laws. That's pretty objective, because you can clearly see that the Constitution is more powerful as a legal document than the UK parliamentary kind of history. It's more open to interpretation. There is no codified constitution in the UK. So US citizens objectively have more rights than UK citizens. So I don't know why you think the legal system is better in the UK. There's also much longer backlogs in the UK legal system, and more things that you can be basically arrested and convicted for in the UK. So US citizens have more rights than UK citizens. The only thing that really definitively gives UK citizens anything similar to the kind of rights that US citizens have is the Human Rights Act, and the Human Rights Act is interpreted very, very broadly in line with UK law, and the synthesis of that is that UK citizens still have less rights than US citizens, even with the Human Rights Act, which only came into play in the early 2000s.
Yeah, so I just break it down here just to see, you know, because we're not talking specifically just about the Constitution. We're talking about the legal system, right? That's what you mentioned. You said the legal system is better in the US.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the structure and the court procedures here, and the criminal justice and the legal cost and the rights and the liberties. So each one of them here, the UK is better than the US.
Let's go through them.
I can go through them one by one.
Sure.
One by one. Sorry, you can go to structure. We're going to talk about court procedures. Let's talk about court procedures. Example: in the UK, general simple procedures. The focus is on efficiency with a more streamlined legal process. Trials are less adversarial compared to the US. The US, the legal process can be longer, can be more complicated, with more emphasis on adversarial trials. There are more player bargains, and jury trials are common in both criminal and civil cases. Okay. So the UK is better there.
How does that mean
criminal
the UK?
Justice.
I don't understand how that meant the UK is better. What did you say that meant the UK is better?
Absolutely. What he says on the court procedures on the UK, it's way simple. The procedures are way simple.
How? Tell me how then. Tell me how they're more simple.
It's focused on efficiency.
Tell me how. Now, tell me how though. You can't just say they're more simple and focused on efficiency. That's it. Like, tell me how.
Absolutely. 1 second, I'll tell you how.
Do you know that the court backlogs are longer in the UK than they are in the USA, which means that there is less efficiency in a literal sense, because people are essentially waiting longer to get access to the court system.
People do wait longer in the US.
In the UK.
Look at that as well. People wait longer on average compared to the UK.
No, they wait longer in the UK because they have a longer court backlog in the UK.
Okay, so you ask me how, right? I can tell you how. So the judges in the UK have a more active role in investigating the case. They can ask questions of witness and may take a more hands-on approach in gathering facts and evidence, especially in civil cases. Their focus is in discovering the truth rather than simple being referees between the opposing sides. So that's the difference. That's the how.
That's what judges do in both cases. That's a judge's job.
What he's trying to tell you here, in the UK, it's more simple and efficient compared to the US.
Okay, because you just read.
I'm not making this. No,
just
I'm
read.
not making this. Right?
All they're saying is it's more simple because it's more simple. The judges have a hands-on approach. That's completely meaningless.
No, I'm not. No, they're not just hands-on approach on gathering the facts.
You're just reading.
And evidences.
You're just reading a narrative off of ChatGPT, which isn't actually telling you.
Absolutely. Unless we're discrediting ChatGPT, that's another thing.
No,
you can
but,
say, look,
but
I'm
that,
ignoring what ChatGPT is saying.
You just read doesn't explain how that's better. It doesn't explain why that's better. It just says it's better. If I search on my ChatGPT right now, it will say the US system is better because it's more efficient. I'm asking you to tell me how instead of just searching it and saying, well, it's better because it's better.
The difference between them, right? I'll tell you specifically. What this trying to tell you is that in the UK they're more active, and in the US they're more passive. The judges, so they play a more passive role in the US.
How? Explain how they're more active in the UK. Like, give me examples of how they're more active.
I just told you they put in hands on gathering the facts and evidences.
That's what judges
US,
do.
They are more like.
That's what judges do in both the US and in the UK.
No, they don't do that in the US.
So you're saying in the US, the judges, that's a judge's job.
They play a more passive role. They play like an arbitrary role. They're more like it's different than the UK compared to the UK. The judges do ask a lot of questions. They will question the witnesses. You know, they don't do that.
No, the lawyers question
in the
the
US.
witnesses. No, judges.
No, they do that in the UK.
No, the lawyers
do that in
question the
UK.
witnesses.
Mate, so what do you want me to tell you? I have a source.
I'm not sure you actually understand how the court system works in either country, unfortunately, because you don't seem to realize that lawyers question witnesses and judges can take a hands-on approach in both the UK and the USA.
Yeah. So I'm literally gonna show you that I'm literally looking at this as we speak.
I know.
You
I
can
heard
see
what you
here.
read.
Absolutely, exactly. So I'm telling you, I'm not making this up.
But what you're saying has
have
no
a source.
tangible meaning to it.
So let's put it simple, right? Your claim was that the US has a better legal system.
Yes,
I
because the
told you,
citizens
I look into
because
it.
the citizens have more rights.
Yeah. So I look into it. ChatGPT said, not me. ChatGPT said that the UK's legal system is better than the United States. Now, what's your
Based
source?
on you
What
saying that
would your
judges
claim?
take a
I can
hands-on
look into it.
based on that you saying that judges take a hands-on approach, but I'm saying that the US has a codified constitution that gives its citizens more rights. We can actually pull up the constitution and see, oh, citizens have these rights, but in the UK, those same rights are more restricted because they're more open to interpretation at the lower court level. So citizens in the UK have less rights than citizens in the USA, which means when you go to court, you're better able to advocate in terms of your rights in the USA because of the Constitution. It's more open to interpretation in the UK. Like, for example, you can get arrested. Like,
yeah.
you know, like someone. I just did a live on this yesterday, right? Someone in the UK just got arrested for putting up flags on flagpoles, and he got arrested for because they said that they thought he had an intent to incite racial hatred by putting up the UK flag. That can't happen in the USA.
So I'm actually looking here, right? What you're claiming is, you said US is better in that sense, but US is better in some sense, like a free speech and the pew ownership. Yeah, but I told you the pew, it's debatable. The free speech,
It's also
absolutely.
better in terms of unlawful search and seizure, in terms of warrantless entry into houses. US citizens have more rights.
No, not in terms of entering the houses. In the
Yes,
UK,
they do.
it's literally the same procedure as
It's not the
US.
same procedure.
You cannot enter someone's home
It's
in
not
the UK
It's not
without
the
a
sa-
warrant.
That's not true. It's not the same procedure.
Right. Look, we can look into that. But if you Google it, right, it will tell you that the UK offers more universal rights in areas like healthcare and privacy. Now, I want to focus on the privacy.
Sure.
Privacy in the UK is way better compared to the US.
Give an example.
I can actually give an example. Even though we're not in the US, right? How many times actually let's put it straightforward. How many American companies have been reported for a data breach or leaking information or selling data compared to them UK companies?
You tell me.
Absolutely, I'll be happy to tell you the difference. Let's look at the numbers because numbers are very important. I know only ChatGPT was over 1,000 something, if I'm not mistaken. That's just ChatGPT. But let's look into.
So are we essentially
companies in the US.
just you make claims and then I say,
Yeah.
can you give an example, and then you just search it on ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT.
No,
said this.
I know. Absolutely, I know the numbers, but I don't know them specifically.
Okay.
I know the numbers are very high because I know ChatGPT on itself was reported for data breach like over 1,000 times, and Facebook was reported, for selling data, for data.
But how
breach
does
as
that
well,
mean? How does that mean that privacy rights are better in the UK?
Because the companies in the UK, they are more protected. There's laws that protect the consumers in the UK more compared to the US.
Do you know anything about those laws, or are you just assuming that that's true?
Not specifically. I didn't assume.
So how can you
I know
assert?
that-
How
I know-
can you assert that if you actually don't even know if it's true or not?
I know because one second, I'll tell you. One second.
I think
let's go one by one. Right?
Let's
look at the one thing
let's
first.
wrap this up. What we can do is you get the information that you're asserting, and then we can have a conversation another time, because it doesn't seem like you actually know if what you're saying is true. It seems like you're asserting it and then trying to look it up to see if it is true.
Well, I don't know the numbers by head. Neither
So
you,
why you?
and
But
pretty
why?
much neither anyone.
But I'm giving
But I'm-
different. But I'm giving different justifications for why I think the legal system is better. You're making assertions and then looking up your assertions to see if they're true. I already know that the US citizens have more rights based on the US Constitution. So I'm giving a different justification. Your justifications are based on stuff that you don't know if they're true or not, and then you're looking it up to see if it's true.
No, I'm looking up to see the specific numbers. That's what I was telling you. I was going to look to see specific numbers and then to compare them, so we can compare them between the UK and the US to get to a conclusion. Because I told you, you're just not going to go to my word. You're not going to believe me. Even though I told you some things, I'm looking at it. You say, no, you don't believe that as well.
It's not that I don't believe it. It's just that you're reading
Yeah.
a narrative that has no actual argument behind it. You're just saying ChatGPT says this,
Okay.
so therefore it's true. You're not actually saying it says this, which means that this and this is based on this. It's just saying, like for example, you said the court system's more efficient, but that doesn't tell us anything. That's just someone saying the court system's more efficient. It doesn't actually tell us why it's more efficient, etc. But anyway, we got quite a few other people waiting to come on. I appreciate speaking to
absolutely.
you. I
You
don't
can-
think
you
we're going
can,
to agree either way.
You
So.
can kick me out. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to an agreement.
Yeah.
My final thing is, I don't think US is bad. I think US is a third world country. The only major cities, it's really good, but I think it's a shithole, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Take care. Cheers.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I won't say anything because the guy, I guess he was arguing in good faith. I just didn't really understand the basis of any of the points he was making. He seemed to just be saying stuff and then searching up to see if it was true. What's up, Michael?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
That's great. So, some parts I want to touch upon is I believe in some aspects the USA is better than the UK. In some aspects. It's like the tourism. Obviously, the tourism is going to be a lot better. But when you take it into some parts like the political system, I think the UK is significantly better. Yes, we do have our own flaws, but in terms of corruptness, I think the US is far more corrupt than the UK.
Okay. And what's that based on?
So that's based on the main areas. So, for example, like the Medicaid stuff. In Minnesota, that was defunded because of the situation with ICE.
What do you mean by Medicaid was defunded because of the situation with ICE? What does that mean?
Not defunded. So, in a way of I believe the councillor or the mayor of Minnesota. I forgot what the correct term is, but
You mean the
they
governor?
disagreed with what ICE was doing.
The governor.
Sorry, what was that?
The governor.
Yeah, the governor of Minnesota. They disagreed with what ICE was doing. So Donald Trump initially said, you're losing Medicaid.
So you're saying in Minnesota people can't get Medicaid? Is that what you're arguing?
Yeah.
Well, that's not true.
I believe I saw something about Medicaid being defunded or something along them lines in Minnesota. And another thing is
How's that
Donald
corruption?
Because it's why should... So was it the First Amendment rights that gives them freedom of speech?
Right.
So by them disagreeing with what ICE is doing, isn't that taking away that amendment rights for freedom of speech?
No, because they have the right to disagree with what ICE is doing, but ICE is an enforcement arm of the federal government, and the federal government has jurisdiction vested in them by the executive branch with respect to immigration enforcement, so they can enforce immigration within the states. In reality, a state that doesn't allow ICE to enforce immigration is actually the state that's operating in contradiction to what the law is.
Yeah, and another thing is Donald Trump and is it Robert F. Kennedy, the like head of medicine and all that for the government.
Okay.
They were passing out false information, and there's no repercussion for that.
What was the false information?
With autism and stuff.
Can you tell me more about what the false information was?
So they said that autism is caused by vaccines and circumcisions.
Did they say that, or were they investigating a link between vaccines and autism?
They said that.
I believe RFK was investigating through inquiry a link between vaccines and autism, which has been established in some medical literature, but it's a debated topic. So, but how is that corruption if they are looking into whether vaccines are linked to autism?
So the fact that they said that without any concrete evidence, so it should be, if they're going to investigate it before they say anything publicly. Because by them saying that, there's no backlash. Whereas, like, if a doctor said, you know, autism is caused by this, they can face the legal stuff. Like, they can be kicked off the medicine board. Whereas the president and RFK, they don't have anything to lose by giving out false information.
And how do you know the information is false?
So how can a circumcision cause autism?
I didn't say it could. I don't know of anybody that said that. But I'm asking you, how do you know that vaccines don't cause autism?
Because they also said paracetamol as well.
They said
Tylenol, but
they said Tylenol.
They said Tylenol.
I think what it was that the use of Tylenol in vaccinated individuals can lead to some adverse effects, something to that effect. But I don't understand how this is corruption. This is just medical inquiry, right?
Because it's false information, and by them spreading that, it's doing no benefit for society.
But how do you personally know that the information is false?
Because how can a circumcision that's done after birth cause something that's genetically passed on?
You said autism is passed on genetically?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
Because it's in the DNA, it's passed on.
It's not, though.
Well, I mean, it's...
So are you saying
yeah,
people shouldn't question and investigate links between pharmaceutical drugs and adverse health outcomes?
So yeah, they should investigate it, but before they publicly say this is what's causing it, they should obviously do the investigation, get the evidence of it, and build that portfolio of it, rather than just going straight in, providing no evidence of it.
But that's what he was doing, though.
But he didn't have the evidence to back up what he was saying.
And how do you know that he didn't have evidence to back it up?
Because he didn't show any.
But how do you know? Because obviously he was doing an inquiry into whether it does. So there's evidence that suggests that it does and evidence that suggests that it doesn't. So I don't really see how that's corruption. It just seems like he has a different position than the mainstream
because
medical.
He's lying to us.
But how do you know he's lying? It may just be what his perspective is based on the research.
How can a circumcision cause autism?
I don't believe that anybody said a circumcision caused autism. I believed it was.
I've seen the video of him saying it.
What did he say?
Let me pull up the exact words.
Okay. Oh, he says, I think I found the video. RFK Jr. suggests autism circumcision link.
There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism.
It says there's studies that show that children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism.
It's highly likely because they're given Tylenol.
Highly likely because they're given Tylenol. So he didn't say that it caused it. He says that there's studies that suggest the link between autism and Tylenol use after babies are circumcised.
But what's the link?
He just
Like,
said that there's 2
that's
studies
what-
that show a link.
I feel like it's more of a coincidence that it's happened alongside it rather than rather than
It could be, but you asserted that he said that it does cause it, but he actually said that there's a link between it. He didn't say that there's a causal link. He just says that there's a link from 2 studies that he's seen. And in any case,
it may have been the way I've interpreted it. But
yeah,
that's
and in any
definitely how
case,
it sounded.
in any case, why on earth would somebody want to cut off part of a child's reproductive system? That seems a bit strange.
I mean, it has no like. There's no downside to it.
There's no downside to cutting off part of your reproductive organ.
Well, I mean, it's like there's other health benefits to it.
No, there aren't. And do you know that children can die from circumcision?
If it's done correctly, no, they can't.
What is the correct way to cut off part of your reproductive organ?
So, obviously, done through clean and sanitary, like.
Why would you want people to cut off part of a child's reproductive organ without their consent?
But how are you supposed to get that consent?
By waiting until the child is an adult that can make a decision for themselves.
But then, when they're at the age of an adult, then it's going to be more. The risks are higher.
I don't believe the risks are high. It just means that the person probably wouldn't opt to do it, because why would anyone want to cut off part of their reproductive organ?
I mean, it also makes it easier to clean.
Should you cut off your hands because they're easy, it makes them easier to clean?
Well, no, because then I'm losing function in that hand. In the arm.
That's what circumcision does. It removes sexual function by cutting out nerve endings on the tip of your reproductive organ.
Well, it's up to the parent's choice at the end of the day.
So if I want to give my kid a tattoo, do you think I should be able to?
I mean, there are cases for medical reasons why.
But do you think I should
parent?
be able to? Do you think I should be able to give my kid a tattoo?
Depends for the reason, but by choice, no.
So why would I be able to, without my child's consent, cut off part of a functioning part of their body? That doesn't make any sense.
But it has no impact.
Of course, it has an impact. It cuts out nerve endings on your reproductive organ. Let's move on, because this topic is a bit niche.
Another thing is the leader of the US, Donald Trump, is a paedophile.
Okay, based on what?
Well, he's in the Epstein files. He was good friends with Epstein, and then the person who did Epstein's human trafficking, wished her well in a trial.
How does that make him a PDF?
Well, when you look at all the stories that has been passed on, it shows that Donald Trump did horrible things.
What did he do?
I don't want to say it on here because it's...
Do you know what he did? Or is it an allegation that he did something?
Well, I mean, there's no... The people who has accused Donald Trump has magically ended up, unalived.
So you would agree that there's no actual evidence that he's done anything, just an allegation that he's done something?
So if he was completely innocent, how come he won't release the Epstein files?
Well, that's not how you confirm whether someone's a PDF or not. If I said to you, you're a PDF, right? and then you say, well, no, I'm not, and then I say, okay, give me all your phone downloads, and then you say no, does that mean that you're a PDF?
No, but I'd happily do that.
Yeah, but if you didn't, would that make you a PDF?
No, but
so why does it make Trump a PDF?
Because he's been named in them, but won't release them.
But it's an allegation, so we don't have any evidence to suggest that he's actually a PDF.
Well, I mean, he's been accused of raping people.
That would be a more accurate statement, that he's been accused of doing something, not that he actually is a PDF. We have no evidence that he actually is.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at from not naming that. And another thing is, he bombed an entire country to stop them files getting released, because he knew that they were getting released close.
He did bomb a country, yes, but I don't know if that's why he bombed the country.
But like, why else would he bomb Iran?
Because the United States foreign policy is aligned with the foreign policy of Israel, and they've been gagging to bomb Iran and destabilize Iran for like 40 years, based on historical conflicts and tensions, and they're supported by neocon war hawks.
Yeah, that's a fair enough argument.
Yeah, it seems more of a reason than because Trump may or may not be a PDF.
I mean, we won't know the true answer until the only person who knows the answer as to why is Trump.
Right. He made a lot of allegations in the live against people. It's hard to really know if there's definitive evidence for any of your allegations against these individuals. Seems like maybe they're a bit transient.
I mean, that's another argument as well, that Trump is very hatred. He shows a lot of hatred to certain groups of individuals.
I wouldn't call it hatred, I'd say maybe disdain.
So he dislikes like trans people, he dislikes gay people, he dislikes like illegal immigrants.
I'm not sure if he dislikes gay people. He had a gay marriage at Mar-a-Lago.
I didn't know about that. But like with the trans people, he's very much like he dehumanizes them.
In what way?
So like, I'm trying to think of a. Trying to think of a time. I can't think of the top of my head like straight off, but like with illegal immigrants, like yeah, they are committing a crime, but they are still human at the end of the day.
Okay.
And like yes, they are breaking into a country, but they are still human. We bleed the same. We don't all look the same.
I don't think anybody said they're not humans.
I mean, calling them aliens, that's very dehumanizing.
Well, that is the correct term for a person from another place, is an alien.
But shouldn't they be referred to as people rather than something?
An alien is a person.
But it doesn't feel like it.
So are you coming to your opinion based on feelings or based on the actual meaning of the words? Because an illegal alien literally just means somebody from somewhere else. Exactly, Johnny. You're referring to extraterrestrial aliens, which is different. So it seems like you've been quite influenced by maybe like cartoons or popular culture that makes you think that the word alien refers only to extraterrestrial aliens, but there are also terrestrial aliens which come from other countries. And the United States body of law refers specifically to aliens and always has done. Alien just means
So I've
somebody
just done
that
a
comes
quick
from
Google
somewhere
on
else.
I'm looking at the definition of alien.
Right.
So it says here, an alien is a being from another world, extraterrestrial, or a person residing in a country without being a citizen.
Right. So you see that second definition?
So I think there should be more. So like using the word legal immigrant should be the correct term rather than alien.
But you just read the definition of an alien, and it clearly told you that it refers to somebody from another country as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it does mean that. But when the way the world is informed of alien, you think of, something from a different planet.
Maybe that's what you think of.
So a lot of people do think that.
Possibly, yes. That doesn't mean that the word is incorrect.
But it's the way it's come across from the public standpoint.
Maybe the public should educate themselves on the meaning of the word alien.
So, do you think it's right that, say, an American-born individual, but their parents come from Mexico or wherever they're from,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it's right that he, as an American citizen, should present his ID whenever he goes out, just because he looks different?
No, I don't think that's. I don't think that just because someone looks different, they should present their ID. But there are certain circumstances where, by law, if a person's detained under an investigation, they can be required to present identification. I don't think that's really a moral issue. It's more of an issue of law enforcement.
So I think, like, because there's some people in the US who are born there, like they're the like stereotypical American. They won't get stopped. But what's the difference between that stereotypical American and that American that's got like Latin ancestry?
Well, they're not just stopping people because they have Latin ancestry, from what I understand. They have intelligence with regards to people's immigration status, so they might stop somebody because they are not a citizen and they want to inquire as to their legal status in the country, not simply because they are of Latin descent. If that were the case, then millions and millions of people would be being stopped by ICE, which is not what's happening. Obviously, they operate off of intelligence and sometimes they get things wrong, but I don't think it's realistic to think that they actually are just going and stopping people because they have Latin descent. That would be pretty ridiculous.
So, what do you think to Alex Petty?
Alex Petty, you mean?
Oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. What do you think?
I think he was wrongfully killed by state agents.
Yes, that's it. You see, like, where was Donald Trump defending him and his family?
I don't know necessarily that he should or shouldn't have defended him. Obviously, there are people that are wrongfully killed by the state all the time, and sometimes the State Department will defend them and sometimes they won't. But I don't see how that has any bearing on whether people are being stopped because they're brown or not.
The point being that, like, people are being wrongfully killed. They are being judged based on the looks. That's like... Cause didn't you say you were planning on moving to America, or you have moved to America?
Yeah, I'm planning on moving. How do you know people are being judged based on their looks, though?
Like, when you look at people posting real life incidents, it's like what evidence have they gone on to say that they're illegally in that country?
Well, usually there is intelligence in terms of through the IRS, a person's earnings, a person's immigration status, where they work, if they've been verified when they work, if there's been a report or a credible report from a member of the public that somebody may be not legally in the country, how they file their taxes, if they've self-reported that they may be in the country illegally. So this is an investigation just like any other investigation, and if they have a credible reason to believe that somebody is in the country illegally, then they have the jurisdiction to detain them and try to inquire as to their legal status.
I think with intelligence, yes, that's fine, but there's cases where they haven't gone off of intelligence.
There may well be, but it's probably unrealistic to think that makes up the majority of the cases. It's probably a very small minority of cases.
I won't say small minority, because it does happen a lot, but not as much as some people make it out to be.
Yeah, human beings can be prejudiced, we know this, but I don't think ICE is any more prejudiced than anyone else. Why do I have any reason to think that?
I think ICE are really, really heavily leaned towards the racist area.
Why do you think that?
Like, just the way they handle themselves. Like, walking around with a mask on.
They wear masks because they deal with the most violent cartels in the world.
But so do, like, armed police officers in the UK. They deal with the most serious of the serious, but they don't walk around with masks on.
Yes, they do. When they do raids, they wear masks.
But that's different from a raid. Like, a raid and walking around with them are different.
Yeah, but ICE agents are dealing with Mexican cartels, so that's probably why they wear masks, because they put bounties on them.
Right, but that's just like saying, like, gangs in LA. Like, that's like saying police officers walk around with masks on because they deal with gangs in LA.
They do wear masks when they deal with certain high stakes cases where there's violent criminals, but ICE has policies where they often wear masks. They don't always wear masks, but they usually wear masks when they're executing raids.
Yeah, I think it's just more of a case of, like I said when I first came on, we have our flaws, America has their flaws, no country is perfect.
I agree.
Like, I think it's more of a case of, like there's some stuff I agree with what Labour's saying, there's some stuff I agree with what Conservatives are saying, there's some stuff that Reform are saying that I agree with, and there's obviously parts where the stuff I don't agree with. And I feel like judging a country, saying, oh, this country's better than that country, when they all have their different flaws.
Okay.
Like,
are there any country? Would you rather live in the UK or live in Nigeria?
Well, I mean, I don't know what Nigeria is like, so I'm going to say the UK.
It's a third world country with a high crime rate, with a lot of corruption, poor administration of justice, poor healthcare, bad roads, very low
UK,
very low income, high poverty rates. So you can actually make a determination that you'd rather live in the UK, right?
Yeah, like, there's, like, when you look at, like, countries that are like the UK and US, they've both got the positives and negatives.
Yeah.
They've both got the goods, the bads, and I feel like comparing two different countries based on what, like, one country's better than the other isn't a fair judgment.
Why is it not fair?
Because it's like you're saying the US has a better healthcare.
Yeah, because it does.
When you have to pay in some aspects, yes.
But why is it not fair to compare countries? I don't understand.
Because it's like comparing two cars. They're both completely different, with different operations, different.
Yeah. That's why you can compare them, because they're different.
Yeah, they're different, but saying the US is better than the UK isn't a valid argument, because it's an opinion.
I know it's an opinion, but why is it not fair?
Because it's like what makes it perfect for you?
I didn't say it was perfect.
No. So why do you think it's better?
Well, I've kind of spent the whole life talking about it, about how it has more economic opportunity and it's bigger and more diverse and has bigger houses and better legal system, in my opinion. But it is ultimately just an opinion, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's like the tax system. I think the tax system needs to be
more streamlined. Yeah, I agree.
Reworked.
I totally agree.
Because I think it's like, who does the tax system benefit more? Your day-to-day people, or your richer, or the richer people?
The day-to-day people, 100%.
I think like there's the saying, the richer get richer and the poorer gets poorer, makes absolute sense.
Yeah, but the tax system is basically just rich people's money getting taken from them to fund things for poorer people. Generally speaking, that describes how the tax system works in almost every country.
Yeah, but like, I think with a government, we need to know where that tax money is going. Like,
I
just
agree.
Complete transparency.
I agree.
It's like, how do you know that money? It's like, I think like a certain percentage of the UK tax goes to the NHS. How do we know that money is going towards the NHS?
I guess there's audits, but they get a lot of money and misspend a lot of it. But yeah, there should be more transparency in general with all kinds of tax systems.
And I think I said it in the chat earlier that like no matter which political party you go to, they're all the same.
In many ways, yeah. I don't vote myself.
I don't. I did, but now I'm not.
Who did you vote for?
I voted Labour.
Oh, God.
No, but I voted Labour, but that was when I was like, I just freshly turned 18.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, I was young, I was naive, but now what, 2 years down the line, I disagree with it, but I certainly agree with my choice more than like Reform.
Oh, you don't like Reform?
No.
Oh, how come?
So I'm an activist for special educational needs, and it very much feels like Reform have very much cut the help from SEND.
How have they done that when they haven't ever had a government?
So their policies are that they think that autism and other SEND is overdiagnosed.
Which it is.
But then there's people who need that diagnosis, but they can't get it because the wait list is sky high.
Because we have a socialised healthcare system.
And another thing, they want to cut EHCPs, educational healthcare plans.
Oh, Reform said they want to cut educational healthcare plans?
Educational healthcare plans.
I don't know what they are.
So it's a legal binding document that provides the support for not just children but adults as well with the help, and it's got to be legally followed.
So is that the main reason you're against Reform?
And obviously, and they want to leave. Well, they want to stop using the European Convention of Human Rights.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
And they also want to abolish the Equality Act 2010.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I will vote for them. That was a joke,
What?
by the way. No, I think that should be abolished as well.
What, the European Convention or the Equality
The
Act?
Equality Act.
I think it should stay.
You agree with the idea of protected characteristics?
Yes.
Should we have protected characteristics for people that are short and unattractive?
No,
Why not?
because they are changeable. So, like, for example,
being short is changeable.
yes, the surgeries for it.
But
No,
aren't there
I wouldn't recommend it.
Aren't there surgeries that can turn somebody who's a man into a woman, according to people like yourself?
So I think that because there are 7 protected characteristics, and I think that they are in place for a reason.
But it's also changeable if somebody has a mental health condition. So why should mental health conditions be protected characteristics, but being short and ugly shouldn't be?
As far as I'm aware, mental health is not a protected characteristic.
It is.
Let me have a look. Because last time I knew it was disability.
Yeah, mental health falls
Age.
into disability.
I didn't know mental health was a protected characteristic, but
It is under disability.
I was only taught like disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, pregnancy.
And disability obviously encompasses mental health as well.
I feel like in some aspects that, like, like disabilities, I think it's more like a case of if you get given a job, if it affects your job, for example, like, I don't know, like for example, disability. If you're in the army and you've not got a leg, then that's going to affect your performance.
Right.
But then it's like, if you're short, how's that going to affect your job?
Well, the idea of protected characteristics is that it protects groups that have been historically discriminated against or disenfranchised, and that may be subject to worse outcomes as a result of the disenfranchisement that comes from them being targeted or underrepresented. And obviously short and ugly people also are targeted and underrepresented. So I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to make that a protected characteristic.
Yeah, but like being short, like, for example, like you don't just walk down the street and get attacked because you're short, whereas certain like the other protected characteristics do get attacked for just walking down the street.
You think men get attacked for just walking down the street?
No, but women do. Like, women have to, watch their backs when they're walking down a dark street at night.
Well, men are more at risk of being attacked in public than women are.
it depends on the aspect of it.
But the point is that is the Equality Act to protect people who might be attacked? Not really. No, it's to protect people based on them having protected characteristics that could mean that they're subject to detriment.
I mean,
so
the Equality Act doesn't just protect certain people; it protects everyone.
The whole basis of the Equality Act is to prevent someone from being subject to detriment or to reduce healthcare inequalities. So I'm just
so it's like
I'm just making the point. Or sorry, to reduce inequalities, not just healthcare inequalities. So I'm just making the point that there are other groups that are subject to detriment, but they're not protected under the Equality Act. Why those particular things? Why sexual orientation, gender identity, sex, disability? Why should they be protected, but other things shouldn't be protected? Like if you're short and ugly.
So I think it's there's a line between it. Like, yeah, it's bad what happens to you, but I don't think that it's as severe enough. Like, obviously.
Oh, I'm not short and ugly. This isn't about me. I'm not short and ugly, bro. I'm medium tall.
I'm trying to word it without sounding. I'm trying to word it without sounding rude, but like it's like they haven't faced it as much as, you know, like you're more likely to, you know, have abuse yelled at you if you're like gay or trans.
Then
whereas if you're short, you're less likely to face it.
Short males will face abuse far more than an average female.
Oh yeah, like I feel like the world, like the society, like if you're a man, you've got to be like 6'2", and you know,
if you're a man, you've
like there's that stigma.
Whereas, yeah, so why shouldn't height be a protected characteristic? You're not telling me.
I just don't feel like it's very much. I don't think it's seen as much.
Maybe you're not paying attention.
Like I can't see a single like case of where someone's been violently attacked because of short.
Yeah, but it's not. As I said, it's not just about being violently attacked. It's about being subject to detriment, being mistreated or treated worse than others. You don't think short men get treated worse than others?
Yeah, I think short men do get treated differently.
So should there be laws to protect them? Just like there's laws to protect transgenders and black people and white people and people on the basis of race. Why shouldn't we stop the historical disenfranchisement of short people? I rest my case. Right, guys, I'll wrap it up there. This live was, I don't know, this was like, of all the lives I've done, I'm just going to drop you down, Michael. Nice speaking to you, though, and thanks for your perspectives. I feel like this live, not just this guy, but this overall live, I lost more brain cells than any other live I've done. Like, this live made me genuinely consider, like, should I even keep going live? Because I'm just like, I feel like some of the things being said, it's like, I didn't even know what to respond. I was just like, what are we even talking about right now? Like, I'm just... Anyway, I'll be back live again tomorrow as usual, even though I'm complaining now. We'll talk about... Maybe we'll do a different live topic for a bit. See how that goes. My favourite one I do so far is the one where I say, which colour strip do you want to live in most? That one's so fun, but it's not as good for the YouTube content. Send me videos if you want me to react to them as well. I'm Shady says, yes, fella, low IQ people. No, yeah, I think it was a bit of an IQ problem to this time. But send me videos if you want me to react to them. I'm still trying to debate people. So if anyone wants to debate me on my YouTube channel, please, if you're going to debate me, have like a certain level of IQ. No offense, but like, bro, I can't do combos like that on my YouTube. Come on with it. Like, I need like fully formed opinions, if you're like have staunchly held opinions, like some of you girls that like do the emojis in my comments and be like, oh my gosh, like, why didn't one of you debate me? You guys always typing, but you're so scared. I don't know what it is with the young ladies these days. You guys need to get more confident. I can't tell you, like, I've been doing these lives for so long, and like 90% of the girls that comment stuff, I say come up, and like 90% of them, they don't want to back up their opinions. So girls, get some confidence. I don't bite. Debate Dean Withers. Oh man, that guy. I don't even think I'd want to debate him. He's pretty low IQ in my opinion. He's got good verbal. He's got high verbal IQ though, but he's pretty illogical. I saw him get smoked by a black guy once on abortion. He got absolutely fucking torn apart. Harry Sisson, oh that guy. Parker Dean, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm cool. I could debate them, but I don't think I'm at the level of content creator yet. And also, I don't really find their opinions interesting. Jalen says, yo, I just want to say I'm gay, bye. Congratulations. Yeah, I'd rather, the kind of people I want to debate, this is going to sound mad, but the kind of people I want to debate are like, really like, people with like extreme views. Like extreme feminists, or like extreme Muslims, or like extreme black supremacists or white supremacists, like, or like people who are like work in the, like a doctor. I want to debate like a doctor. Like I want to debate people that are like super indoctrinated into their belief system, not like just a lefty. Michael Calloway says if they scrap the Equality Act, NHS could refuse someone healthcare access based on skin colour. No, they couldn't actually, because there's other contractual obligations outside of the Equality Act and other laws that make them required to treat people. But I do take your point that the Equality Act does protect people based on certain things. But I think we should have a different legal framework to protect those people. Have you ever lost a debate with anyone? I've never had like a full length debate. I've been wrong on debates. Like I've had to concede debates and say yes, you're right. So in a sense, yes, I have. But I couldn't like pinpoint and be like, this was the debate, this was the topic, this is what I lost. I've spoken to people on live who have been correct and I've been wrong, and then I've said, yeah, I'm wrong. That's happened, of course. Yeah, so Michael says, or a shopkeeper could refuse to serve someone because they're white or black. I actually think people that run private businesses should be able to refuse people service for any reason. But that's just me. Anyway, take care of yourself, guys. I'm off. Bye-bye. Man, oh my gosh, YouTube. I lost brain cells on that one. I don't know what the fuck that one was. I think maybe I'm just tired. I just need to wrap it up. How long was I live?